If the special committee reports that the particulars of any allegation against the governor have not been substantiated, further proceedings shall not be taken under this section in respect of that allegation. Honorable Senators, that being the case, this matter stands concluded and no further proceedings shall be taken thereof. However, pursuant to Standing Order Number 1, and cognizant that consideration of the proposed removal from office of a governor by impeachment is one of the most important functions of the Senate under the Constitution, I shall allow the chairperson of the special committee to make brief remarks on the process undertaken by the committee and in particular any recommendations the committee would wish to make. The chairperson will have not more than 15 minutes. Thereafter, I shall allow senators to make general comments and observations thereon for not more than 30 minutes, after which the Senate shall adjourn. I thank you. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very interesting day. Ironically, Mr. Speaker,
what's your point of order? And when you want your point of order, just use the button, because I can see from here. Okay, Mazayo. Okay, Senator Mazayo.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for allowing me to interrupt my brother. The point is, I was one of the participants in this committee, and I know how detailed that report is. I think 15 minutes may be a little bit short for purposes of expounding on how certain decisions have been arrived at. If at all, Mr. Speaker, I think my learned colleague is very much aware about point of orders. What I'm trying to suggest here is, if he can be given at least half an hour, then I believe he will be in a position to put a little bit of some meat of each and every decision that was arrived at. And it's good for the country, because the country at this moment is watching. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
In fact, there were 10 minutes. I added 5 to make it 15, because you'll have an opportunity to read the report, which is already done. So, okay, Chair, proceed.
thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm well guided. I will try within my ability to utilize the 15 minutes. Where need be, I will come back to your Honorable Chair and ask for extension of time. Otherwise, I thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very interesting day. Mr. Speaker, as I was presiding over the proposed impeachment of Governor Waiguru, some funny people were hiding in some cocoon, planning to remove me.
Order, Senator Mandala.
As Senator for Kakamega.
Order, Senator.
It is quite ironical.
No, order. Can you use your time properly?
Thank you.
You are now dragging the House into your party issues, and we are not party to that. Please focus on your report.
I want to remind the people that I am the Senator for Kakamega, and I'll stay to be the Senator for Kakamega. Mr. Speaker, sir, permit me to begin by remarks conveying on behalf of honorable senators of the special committee on the proposed removal from office of the governor for Kirinyaga County, our appreciation and gratitude to you and this honorable House for the confidence you expressed in us to undertake the honors task by appointing us to serve in this special committee. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Government Act of 2012 and Standing Order number 75-1B of the Senate, the Senate may, by resolution, appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter or investigate the matter in plenary. Mr. Speaker, the Senate Majority Leader moved a motion on Tuesday, 16th June 2020, and following the debate in the House, the Senate resolved to establish a special committee comprising of Senator Abshiro Alake, Senator Michael Mbito, Senator Mwangi Paul Githiomi, Senator Beth Mugo, Senator Anwar Loitiptip, Senator Philip Mpayae, Senator Cleophas Malala, Senator Beatrice Kwamboka, Senator Stuart Mazayo, Senator Judith Pareno, and Senator Moses Kajwang, to investigate the proposed removal from office by impeachment of the governor of Kirinyaga County and to report to the Senate within 10 days pursuant to Standing Order 75-2 of its appointment on whether it finds the particulars of the allegations to have been substantiated or not. Mr. Speaker, following its establishment, the Senate committee held its first meeting on Wednesday 17th, 2020, pursuant to Standing Order 193 and Rule 3A of Part 2 of the 5th Schedule of the Senate Standing Orders. The Clerk of the Senate conducted the election for position of chairperson and vice chairperson. Mr. Speaker, I wish to report that the committee elected the Kakamega Senator, the one Senator Cleophas Wahungu Malala as the chairperson, and Senator Abshiro Halaki, MP, as the vice chair. Mr. Speaker, sir, Section 33(5) of the County Government Act, Standing Order 75-3, and Rule 4A of Part 2 of the 5th Schedule of the Senate Standing Orders provide that the governor shall have the right to appear and be represented before the special committee during investigation. Rule 4B of Part 2 of the 5th Schedule to the Senate Standing Orders further accord the County Assembly the right to appear and be represented before the special committee. Mr. Speaker, the committee commenced its hearing on Wednesday, 24th, 2020, by convening a conference of parties where formal introductions of parties, recital of the mandate, and the committee adoption of the hearing program took place. Mr. Speaker, among the preliminary issues that the committee had to deliberate and make a decision on was a letter, Mr. Speaker, referenced Senate Letter 1/003 dated 20th June 2020 from the Speaker of the County Assembly of Kirinyaga requesting the special committee to summon Mr. Patrick Mugo, the Chief Officer, Finance and Economic Planning, Mr. Kennedy Ngiabi, the Chairperson, County Public Service Board, and Mr. Joseph Otieno Karilas, the Director, Supply Chain Management. The County Assembly stated in its letter that the said officer had refused, neglected, or otherwise been unable to give their statements and produce documents requested by the County Assembly. The committee deliberated on the matter and pursuant to Rule 9 of Part 2 of the 5th Schedule of the Senate Standing Orders, issued invitation to appear as witnesses. The invitation to appear was served on the witnesses on the same day. Mr. Speaker, the County Assembly was represented by Mr. Ndegwa Njiru and Mr. Charles Mwangi Ndegwa, and the Governor was represented by Mr. Paul Nyamodi, Advocate, Mr. Kamotho Waiganjo, Advocate, and Andrew Mushiri Karani, Advocate, to appear on behalf of the Governor. During the...
This is a point of order.
The Speaker, I didn't mean to interrupt Senator Malala, but to start with, Mr. Speaker, is making comments pursuant to your generosity and on application of standing order number 1. Ordinarily, we would not have gone this direction. The matter would have ended and we go home. And since he's doing so, you say that because of the importance of the impeachment of governor, I would suggest, Mr. Speaker, with your direction, that Senator Malala forgets about all this introduction, about who is a member of the committee, when did it start, who are the lawyers, who are the parties, and then go to the substratum, Mr. Speaker, the real issues that happen, so that then we can apply this short time, this window you've created, for purpose of the salient issues. Otherwise, his time will be wasted on things that we know. We know there is a governor, there was an MCA, there were lawyers, there was hearing, there was hardis. Let him just go to, this is the things the committee faced as challenges, and they ended up making this recommendation because of this. That way, we will use this time more quality than the recitals he's making. The rest we can read for ourselves.
Okay, Senator Malala, utilize your time properly, the 15 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, you've given me 15 minutes. It is my prerogative to know how to use the 15 minutes. You cannot limit me on the time and again tell me how to spend the 15 minutes. So, Senator Murkomen, kindly allow me to discharge my duty as the chairperson of the Select Committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, I will go directly to the charges against Governor Anne Waiguru. There were two main charges leveled against the governor, which are gross violation of the Constitution and other laws, and abuse of office and gross misconduct. To support the first charge, the County Assembly made the following allegations. 1, failure to deliver the annual State of the County Address for financial year 2018-2019 to the County Assembly. 2, undermining the authority of the County Assembly. 3, violation of Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015 and the Public Finance Management Act of 2012. To support the second charge of abuse of office and gross misconduct, the County Assembly made the following allegations. 1, violation of Section 46 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. 2, improper conferment of a benefit on a public officer. 3, disregard of the recommendation of the County Public Service Board regarding the remuneration of members of the Board of Kirinyaga Investment Authority, payment of KIDA board members outside the IFMIS and county government payroll, and payment of interest amounting to more than 14 million paid to Mr. Francis Muriithi Kariuki. And lastly, violation of the right to health of the people of Kirinyaga. Mr. Speaker, allow me to address this House on the issue of the threshold that is required to impeach the governor. The issue of the threshold for impeachment is complex and does not contain a simple mathematical formula. During the Senate's consideration of the report of the special committee investigating the removal of the governor of Kericho, on 3rd June 2014, the Senate adopted the committee's recommendation that the threshold for impeachment should take into account the following consideration. 1, the allegation must be serious, substantial, and weighty. 2, the violation must be a flagrant and glaring violation. 3, there must be a nexus between the violation and the governor. 4, the violation must have led to harm, loss, or damage to society. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, the violation must have led to a loss of dignity in the office held and loss of confidence or trust in the person holding office to carry out the functions of that office with integrity and accountability. The threshold was also used by the Senate in the subsequent consideration of the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Mwangi Wairia, the governor of Murang'a County in November 2015. This special committee adopted the above threshold for removal of Governor Anne Waiguru as adopted by the Senate on 3rd June 2015. Mr. Speaker, in the course of its investigation of this matter, the special committee has observed a number of issues which, though outside the specific charge...
What's your point of order?
The Speaker, Senator Malala has made a very serious statement about the Senate adopting particular criteria in the case of Kericho in 2014 and subsequently in the case of Murang'a. It would be erroneous if it goes to the public that, Mr. Speaker, the Senate adopted any of that procedure, because it was not the Senate. The Senate did not have the opportunity, because the governors were cleared, to adopt any of those procedures. Contrary to his assertion, it is actually the committee in its report that came up, Mr. Speaker, with that criteria, which report was not adopted by the House because Section 33 of the County Government Act does not allow the House to adopt. If it goes to the public out there that there is a set criteria by this House based on those two reports of Kericho and Murang'a, it will create the impression that this particular committee found itself a cover to come and explain the clearance of the governor using a report of a committee which was not adopted by this House, but rather which was used by the committee, a criteria used by the committee to clear certain governors. So I'd like, Mr. Speaker, you to rule whether it is in order for Senator Malala to use the word adopted by the Senate instead of saying used by the relevant committee.
Senator Malala, I think it's a matter of semantics. Semantics, you know.
Mr. Speaker, in English, we have what we call synonyms. So you'll allow me today to please my friend, Honorable Murkomen, to use a synonym for adopted. So I will say that the committee did not adopt, but the committee used the precedents of the previous committees. That is what we call synonym in English. In the course of its investigation of this matter, the special committee has observed a number of issues, which, though outside the specific charges made against Governor of Kirinyaga, are garment to the totality of the situation of Kirinyaga County and merit the attention of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee observes that the proceedings before it has exposed acrimonious, contemptuous, and cold relationship between the county assembly on one hand and the county government on the other, on the other hand, that threatens to grind the county
Senator
to a halt.
Cherargei, where are you? What's your point of order?
Because this house is a house of record, it was very important that you make yourself pronounce on the ruling on whether we can, in the past, because there are many reports that are never adopted in this house, that we can use as a threshold, because the perception we are creating is that Senate has its own criteria that is not within the standing orders or the Constitution or the county government, that is being used as a cover by this special committee. So, Mr. Speaker, it's important you rule so that it goes to records, because it's important for us and the future generation. I thank you.
Okay, I think Senator Malala has explained himself and cleared. So we have said, he has avoided saying it adopted the report and said it used the previous precedents. So let us proceed, Honorable Sir. Senator Murkomen.
Mr. Speaker, the point of orders exist for a particular reason in this House. And so it must not look like we are being irritated or we are irritating people by raising these issues. Senator Malala, in his reading of Kericho and Murang'a, and the record bears me witness, Mr. Speaker, said, We use the criteria adopted by the Senate, not the committee. And I explained myself very clearly, Mr. Speaker, that where governors have been cleared, like the case of Kericho and Muranga, the committee report was not adopted by this House. Therefore, that criteria is not a criteria of the Senate. He will be right if he confines himself to say, we borrowed or adopted. I don't mind him using the word adopted, and he should not teach me about what synonym is. He can say, we adopted a criteria used by the committee in Kericho and Muranga, but not Senate. Because if you say a criteria adopted by the Senate, you create that impression that there's a criteria adopted by this House.
Senator Bogisho. Senator Bogisho.
Speaker, this is really on procedure now. Because I think there's a threshold also, Speaker, on what the point of order is. I mean, you can't use a point of order, Mr. Speaker, to start debating the matter or even argue. I think, Mr. Speaker, I think if we keep ourselves to the threshold, I think we will not have all these things. And I understand what it is. But you can't use that provision to continue debating the issue out of this thing.
Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very strange argument coming from a lawyer, number one. Two, a person who was the majority leader of this House. And three, the person who takes pride in the drafting of the County Governments Act. Mr. Speaker, under Article 124, and I want to read so that Senator Murkomen can allow the proceedings of this House to continue. Each House of Parliament may establish committees and shall make standing orders for the orderly conduct of its proceedings, including the proceedings of its committees. In simple English, Mr. Speaker, the orderly conduct of this Senate and its plenary and committees is the conduct of Parliament. And therefore, somebody who has been elected since 2013 cannot purport, Mr. Speaker, and pontificate, Mr. Speaker, that the conduct of a committee...
Senator Murkomen, please.
Yes. And Mr.
Please.
Yes. And Mr. Speaker, you must restrain Mr. Murkomen, Senator Murkomen, because he cannot interrupt us, and we are not bystanders in this Senate. Some of us got more votes than him. If we want to brag, we can brag. But he must listen. The Constitution is very clear that our committees are committees of the House. And the conduct of those committees is the conduct of the Senate. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, in Article 125, that is why we have given the mandate of the committees to act as a court. Under Article 125, it's a committee. Why is Mr. Murkomen behaving like a stranger in Jerusalem? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dismiss that objection.
Senator Orengo.
Mr. Speaker, I'd really plead with you again that we must have some form of debate in the Senate. If there's interruption in the middle of speeches, there will never be any debate. In fact, we have rules of debate because we conduct our business and make decisions on the basis of a debate. Now, with this serious agenda which is before us, if Mr. Malala cannot be given time to present the report that he has a summary on a matter in which you are giving us the courtesy to comment on it, otherwise business would have ended. But you have given us the opportunity to comment. And Mr. Speaker, I want to remind Senator Murkomen that the first impeachment that we had in this House, he was there with me. And the impeachment twice went through the High Court, it went through the Court of Appeal, it went through the Supreme Court. In fact, the principles and the threshold that Senator Malala read out here was not really what we adopted. It was a direction by the Supreme Court. In petition number 1 of Kerugoya, which is adopted in the Court of Appeal, up to the Supreme Court, the Wambora case, the threshold set out by Mr. Malala was not set by the Senate. In fact, if you go to that report, they were saying they were following the directions of the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, and the High Court. And therefore, the committee adopted it on the basis of a judicial decision. And that judicial decision is binding It's binding on the House, not just on the committee. It's binding on the House. So,
Honorable Senators.
Mr. Speaker, what I'm appealing to you is that let us have a serious debate on this matter. Mr. Murkomen will also have his time. And if you interfere with him the same way he's interfering with Mr. Malala, he will not have even a minute to speak.
Okay, order, members, order. Senator Malala, proceed. Murkomen, please, you are pushing me to the edge. Yeah, you are pushing me to the edge. You are not going to tell me what to do. Murkomen.
Mr. Speaker, you'll allow me to proceed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I was rudely interrupted, I was addressing the issue of the toxic relationship between Governor Anne Waiguru and the County Assembly. In this respect, cognizant of the Senate's role as the custodian of the interests of the counties and their governments, the committee recommends that the Senate, through its relevant organs, immediately assumes jurisdiction and invites the County Assembly and the County Governor to a consultative process that will restore a functioning government to the people of Kirinyaga County. The area senator, Honorable Charles Kibiru, should lead the various reconciliatory measures to bring together the county executive and the county assembly and all other institutions in order to restore harmonious working relationship in Kirinyaga County. Mr. Speaker, the committee on the issue of the conduct of the governor. Mr. Speaker, it is worth noting that the committee was unimpressed and must express its reservations on the pattern of conduct of the governor that it has perceived on the basis of the evidence adduced before it. For example, while it is open to the governor to indulge in less important activities, it is an inspiring and disturbing picture when the governor cannot similarly find time to appear before the county assembly to present the annual state of the county address. The condescending attitude of the governor towards the county assembly is uncalled for and does not inspire confidence and trust in the county executive leadership. The governor appears to require to be reminded of the high calling of her office and the responsibilities of leadership as set under Article 73 of the Leadership and Integrity chapter of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the investigation by the special committee, I will go straight to the findings of the special committee, and this is the gist of my presentation. Mr. Speaker, having considered all these matters, it then fell to the special committee to discharge its mandate under Section 33 of the County Government Act, Standing Order 75, and Part 2 of the 5th Schedule, and the Senate Standing Orders, Section 33(4) of the County Government Act, Standing Order 75(2), and Rule 2 of Part 2 of the 5th Schedule of the Senate Order, Standing Orders, mandates the special committee to investigate the matter. Mr. Speaker, the committee's findings on each of the particulars of the allegations are therefore as follows. Charge 1, gross violation of the Constitution and any other law. Mr. Speaker, the first allegation was failure to deliver the annual State of the County Address for the financial year 2018-2019 to the County Assembly. From the evidence adduced before the committee, the governor demonstrated that 2 annual State of the County Address were made. One, albeit, was not delivered in the County Assembly. The committee further noted that there is no county legislation to provide for the content of the annual State of the County Address as required by Section 32K of the County Government Act. The committee also noted that there is no specific law that compels the governor to make the State of the County Address in the County Assembly. The committee therefore finds that the allegation was not proved by law and it is therefore not substantiated. Allegation number 2, undermining the authority of the County Assembly. Evidence adduced before the committee showed that the county executive has always submitted county policy papers and plans, including the county strategy paper, before the County Assembly. Further, the County Assembly has always approved the annual budget, which includes the ADP, the annual development plans, the CIDPs, the fiscal strategy paper, the county outlook papers, Mr. Speaker. There is evidence of plans and policy documents that have been presented to the County Assembly, received and approved by the same County Assembly. The committee therefore finds that the allegation was not proved and it is therefore not substantiated. Allegation number 3, violation of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015 and the Public Finance Management Act of 2012. From the evidence adduced, the committee noticed a clear mismanagement of some tenders. And I want to be very clear on this point, that the committee noted a clear mismanagement of some tender. Of the 12 tenders listed in the motion, the County Assembly only prosecuted 4 of them. The County Assembly used 12 tenders to allege mismanagement in the county, but they only prosecuted 4. 8 were abandoned on the road. Of the 4 tenders prosecuted, the committee notes that there was clear mismanagement of the tender process, where tenders were awarded to companies whose bids were not responsive or where there were clear cases of conflict of interest. The specific tenders in question include tender number CGK ICT 047 of 2017-2018, tender for the design, development, installation, and commissioning of integrated hospital management information system. Mr. Speaker, in this tender, full payment was made long before the user testing was done, and further, the company awarded did not meet the qualifications prescribed in the tender document. The second tender, Mr. Speaker, was the tender for the proposed waterworks for Mwea Makima water projects, March 2018. This tender, Mr. Speaker, was awarded to Ever Trading Agencies Limited, which was clearly owned by a member of the family, specifically the brother to the accounting officer, who awarded the tender with no declaration of interest, yet he's the one who signed on behalf of the county government. In the circumstances, Mr. Speaker, the committee recommends that investigatory authorities undertake investigations on the same and the culpable officers, including the respective tender evaluation committee members, be called to account. The committee, therefore, finds that the allegations were not directly linked to the governor, and it is therefore not substantiated. Charge number 2, abuse of office and gross misconduct. Allegation number 1, violation of Section 46 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act of 2015. Evidence adduced before the committee showed that the respective tender committees were by law established by the respective accounting officers. There was no evidence linking the governor with the establishment of the Tender Evaluation Committee. The committee, therefore, finds that the allegation was not proved and it is therefore not substantiated. Allegation number 2 on charge number 2 of abuse of office and gross misconduct. Conferring a benefit to a public officer. Mr. Speaker, from the evidence adduced, the committee established administrative malaise in the management of imprest in Kirinyaga County. The committee first took great exception to the county assembly for listing 12 imprests paid to the governor and alleging that the governor was issued with imprest but never traveled or surrendered the imprest. The county assembly, on prosecuting, they only prosecuted 2 out of the 12, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, the county assembly brings 12 allegations and only prosecute 2 and abandon 10, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the governor adduced evidence of the travel, and where the travel was never undertaken, the imprest was surrendered throughout the time. The committee observes that accounting officers must adhere to the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, which requires imprest to be surrendered within 7 days, and in the event of delay, the refund should be made with interest, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, here, Governor Anne Waiguru was supposed to travel in January, but she refunded the imprest in April, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we noted that that was a malpractice and it should not be entertained, and the accounting officer should ensure that such members of the public service should be surcharged in case they don't remit or account the imprest. The committee, therefore, Mr. Speaker, finds that this allegation was proved but does not amount to an impeachable offense. Allegation number 3, Mr. Speaker. Disregard of the recommendation of the County Public Service Board regarding remuneration of members of the board of Kirinyaga Investment Development Authority, payment of KIDA board members outside the IFMIS and county government payroll, and payment of imprest amounting to more than 14 million paid to Mr. Francis Muriithi Kariuki. Mr. Speaker, evidence adduced before the committee, and we are talking about evidence, nothing less than evidence. Evidence adduced before the committee demonstrates that payment was made in accordance with Salary and Remuneration Commission circular on payment of allowances to board and commissions. The committee, therefore, Mr. Speaker, finds that this specific allegation was not proved and it is therefore not substantiated. Allegation number 4 on charge number 2, violation of the right to health of the people of Kirinyaga County. From the evidence adduced before the committee, it was established that there was significant systematic problems in the health sector in Kirinyaga that can be addressed by various organs, including the county assembly and the national government institutions. The committee further notes that the high turnover of health workers in Kirinyaga County and the inordinate delay in the payment of health workers who, pursuant to the governor's moratorium, resumed work. This issue should be addressed forthwith. The committee finds that this allegation was again not proved and is therefore not substantiated. Mr. Speaker, you will allow me to conclude.
You have 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know why you are not interested to know how we conclude this matter.
In fact, you know, you've gone over the time I gave you. So you must really...
Mr. Speaker, we have recommended, I'm not able to trace that, but I'll go off the script. Mr. Speaker, the committee has recommended that specific officers who constituted the tender committees, that is the Chief Finance Officer, and members of the tender committees, that is Wayne, Pauline, and the director, supply chain management, Mr. Cornelius Otieno, should step aside as the DCI, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and all other prosecutory organs look into this matter, Mr. Speaker. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, all the companies that were awarded unlawful tenders in Kirinyaga County, the EFCC, the DCI, and any other investigatory organ should initiate investigation and report back within 60 days, but in the meantime, those tenders should be paused until that matter is heard and determined. Thank you, and may God bless Kenya. I also want to remind people that I am still the senator for Kakamega County. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chair. So that's a committee that worked on behalf of the Senate, and using I said use your button, please don't call me. Now I will allow 3 minutes because you see, this is just discretionary so that you make a few comments. Senator Ochila Yako.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to thank the committee that we appointed to look into this matter. This was a very explosive matter. The nation has been looking forward to the verdict, not necessarily this one or that one. But I just want to say one thing. Mr. Speaker, impeachments will come to this House. This is unlikely to be the last one. My understanding of Senate, when an impeachment comes to a House like this one, we are expected to be sequestrated. We are expected to be locked from hearing opinion external to us, from listening to feelings other than facts. Mr. Speaker, I noticed when we were appointing this committee, a lot of us got emotional and a lot of us descended into the arena. We descended into the arena without waiting for evidence, without giving anybody a chance to discern or to understand what was coming. There were people, or some of us, who said, let us listen to what the people of Kirinyaga would say. For me, and for myself, I thought they would have opportunity before this committee, which they did, and presented what was presented. I want to say that there are those who may disagree with what the committee has said, but for me, I agree with the verdict because I watched a bit of the proceedings on television, and it is my considered opinion that the facts that the committee and the conclusion that they have arrived at is based on what was presented before them. So in future, when such matters appear before us, I would plead that we sequester ourselves, we do not debate it out there so that we create a poisonous and a toxic environment to make it impossible to objectively arrive at a finding. I want to support that finding and say that if other people feel aggrieved, we have public institutions like ESCC, DCI, and others. They can pursue what is left hanging and what the committee did not have mandate to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Christopher Langat. give him the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for also giving me this opportunity to make a comment on this particular report. I want to say that, as Senator Ayako has said, we were observing it carefully throughout the time they were doing their processes through the television. I want to say that the process was actually tedious, and I saw very voluminous documents, Mr. Speaker, that I would like to make my suggestion that in future it will be very important to give them more time, because examining such voluminous documents, and maybe some of us are not expert accountants, some of us are not expert lawyers, some of us are not expert procurement officers, I would like to suggest that in future, even the Senate can look forward to bringing together those particular experts so that they can assist the committee in capturing the most important areas. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that the committee has done their part, and I want to say that they have given their verdict, and I don't want to say anything, but in future, they must have more time. Thank you.
Senator Siswila.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to congratulate the committee led by the Senator of Kachimeka. They have done a wonderful job. I remember when we first had our very first impeachment proceedings here during the last term, we really debated as to whether we should go plenary or have a special committee. And we opted for the special committee because it's only through the special committee that one can delve properly into the allegations made. And the report shows that this committee did delve into the allegations made. I very much doubt that in a plenary, that type of analysis of each and every allegation would have been done. Secondly, we are all learning. To me, it's a learning process. And as you rightly stated, Mr. Speaker, impeachment is the most important, nearly the most important work that we do. I noted that in the United States of America, when it comes to impeachment proceedings, they don't rely on the oath that we took at the time after elections. They, in fact, swear in the senators again, because this is a quasi-judicial function that we are performing. It does appear to me, going forward, that it will be important in the future, in order to show the gravity of the issues that we are dealing with, in order to show that this particular function is unlike the other functions of legislation, notices of motion, and so on, and in order to give signals to the public that now we are entering into a very serious process, that we, like in the Senate in the United States of America, we are sworn in again before we start the impeachment proceedings. So, thirdly, Mr. Speaker, sir, it does also appear to me, we are learning by experience, improving as we go along, that the county assembly members particularly, who have discharged their functions, their mandate on behalf of the people of a particular county by voting for impeachment, by agreeing on these charges to bring forward, they have discharged their function. And therefore, maybe going forward, we should, or they should, particularly the county members, they should desist from commenting on the matter once the county assembly has decided that it goes to the Senate. They should desist from commenting on the matter until the Senate has dealt with the matter. I noticed, Mr. Speaker, sir, that after they did that, they then began again going public. And whereas public debate is important and it must go on, because impeachment proceedings are not only quasi-judicial function, but it's also a political process. I do not mind other people commenting on it. And
Your time is up. Leader of majority, Senator. Your time is up, Senator Walker. I even added you more time.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I just want to appreciate the special committee led by the Senator for Kakamega, who has assured us that he's still the Senator for Kakamega, and I think we want to reinforce that. Ask him to, on our behalf, also thank the others who are on the committee, very, very distinguished members of this House. Speaker, when we were thinking about how to go about this, we agreed that we do a special committee, and that was a very favorite or very popular vote we got. Speaker, it is very interesting to note that the whole country now agrees that sometimes you can do the plenary and sometimes you do a committee. And Speaker, the way this particular committee conducted their hearing, I want to congratulate them. They achieved very high standards of how to conduct a hearing. I think everybody, both parties, found that justice was served. And so congratulations, and please understand that not everybody will like the verdict, but the process seems to have received very high ratings. Speaker, as you have allowed us to even make small comments, I appreciate, Speaker, the fact that we ourselves must be confident in our committees. We must have confidence in our committees. We must have confidence in this House, Speaker. And Speaker, sometimes we read things that have been written by members of this House, Speaker, that degrade the House. And it's not that the House out there would like the Speaker to call us all sorts of names. Sometimes we call ourselves those names. And I think we must find a way of desisting. Has been established as a house of honor, is a house of unity, is a house of rules. And so, Mr. Speaker, let me appeal to my colleagues that let us try and restore the dignity of this House. We don't have, from the beginning, to think, Mr. Speaker, that if a verdict it comes out the way it has come now, then it is wrong. And then when the verdict comes another way, then it is right. I think we have allowed ourselves, as this House, Speaker, to agree that our committees represent us, and the verdict that they bring, as they are brought now, should be accepted as it is. So I just wanted to say, Speaker, the other thing which I understand is that the community, the world, must realize, Speaker, that the standards and the threshold for not convicting but for impeachment, Speaker, is set out already. There is precedent. And I think that what the chairman of this special committee said, Speaker, is correct. And we must understand that we are here to follow the law and to accept the verdict. And I just want to thank them, thank the parties involved, and congratulate this process. Thank you very much.
Senator Mutula Kilonzo, don't carry up your hand, Senator Musuruve. Your name is already here. Then Mutula will be followed by Senator Mwawura, who is in the extended chamber.
Thank you, Speaker. This process was very important. And the reason is it appears from the country that we have a series of impeachments coming along the way. And it is important that Senator Malala was very clear about the threshold. Those members of county assembly, even if you sleep in your assembly, even if you plant trees in your assembly, and the threshold is not met, we have set the standard. And I'm glad that I sat in the Chepkwony committee, because, Mr. Speaker, the standard was set. I just want to quote this, and I'm addressing the county assembly members all over the country, so that they can read the authority of Supreme Court of Nigeria, which was quoted ably by the Supreme Court of Kenya in the Wambora case. And this is what it had to say. A governor as a human being cannot always be right and cannot claim to be always right. That explains why Section 188 talks about gross violation. Accordingly, where a misconduct is not gross, then Section 188, or Article 188 in this case, weapon is not a weapon of removal and is not available to a House of Assembly. It was quoted by our Supreme Court. It continues to say, Mr. Speaker, it is useful to note that the various meanings of the word gross in relation to violation. Gross violation is a flagrant violation, a glaring error, nasty, unpleasant, vulgar, crass. It must be severe transgression of the Constitution and the law. That message is like one commandment we are sending to all the county assemblies. Mr. Speaker, the next comment is, I must say that the committee was bombarded with documents, heaps and heaps of paper. Mr. Speaker, we must amend the timelines. And Mr. Speaker, the Vice Chair and the Chair, and I've not heard anybody congratulate Senator Alake for good conduct. Both of them, not even being lawyers, conducted themselves like judges. They were congratulated all over the place and the conduct of how they did this. Lastly, just the same way we did in the Chepkwony. In the Chepkwony case, we asked the senator of that region, now Waziri Keter, to go and reconcile the parties. The paragraphs that are mentioned here about how they are relating to one another presupposes that they think that they are going to migrate to Makueni. We are not interested in them coming to Makueni. They must live together. Senator Kajwang, the late, said something when we were impeaching Governor Kiala. He said there is no divorce. If the county assembly of Kirinyaga and the governor think there's going to be a divorce, there will be no divorce. If they think they can wind up the county, Makueni, we have an example of what happens when you collect signatures and the president refuses. You must work together. Underline caps. Thank you.
Senator Mwaura.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from the outset, I would really want to congratulate the people that represented us, the senators, within this committee. We were actually following very ably. And I want to thank you because you did not allow yourself to be persuaded by the court of public opinion. Actually, what you have been able to do is to prosecute this matter based on its own merits. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say this, that if you look at the allegations that were so made, this was more about political hubris and innuendos. It was about ad hominem arguments against the character of Governor Waiguru. And also, this calls for a very important attribute on the position of a governor. Because I think for me, for this matter to come to this august house, it was more because of lack of consultations by the governor and the county assembly and the high-handedness. And I want to advise Governor Anne Waiguru, wherever she is, please calm down, talk to the people, climb from the mountain. If you had done so before, we would not have been here. I think that is very, very important. Number two is that we still are reeling with the challenges of councillors and county councils. Our jurisprudence, our oversight has not developed to real subnational, sub-state level where we have an equal and accountable government. We cannot have as a country that the only recourse to discipline rogue governors is by impeachment. That is something we need to look at. And one of the things that we need to look to see is how consultative are the public participation process in the development of the CIDP, in the development of the annual development plan, in the development of county fiscal strategy paper, and such other documents that actually ensure that people move in the same direction and that accusations of malfeasance are not attributed to persons who seem not to fully understand the process. This is actually something we need to look at. And I think Senator Amos Wako had a bill here on public participation because clearly from these proceedings, Mr. Speaker, it appears both the governor and the county assembly members have not properly consulted. Mr. Speaker, it is also true to say that when people knew how they can be gotten through direct signature and what have you, there is a new form of corruption that has morphed, where you cannot trace anybody's signature, yes, but you still end up benefiting. So we need to be creative as a Senate to capture people who indirectly benefit from the direct actions of corruption of other officers in the public service. This is something we need to really crack. And finally, Mr. Speaker, because I would like to speak, but I see the time is not there.
Okay, thank you. Senator Mogeni Eric Okongo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. First, I wish to register my appreciation for the good work that has been done by the committee within a very limited time. And I think we really stretched the committee by giving them that very limited time. But, you know, Mr. Speaker, to the people of Kirinyaga and to the members of the County Assembly, some of us who are lawyers know that, Mr. Speaker, there is no case that is so good that it cannot be lost in court, or there is no case that is so bad that it cannot be won in a court of law. Often in legal issues, you approach each matter with an open mind. At times you win, at times you lose. And I think, Mr. Speaker, even for this House, I think this House once impeached the governor for Embu twice. And I think twice the Supreme Court, the Court of Law, beginning from High Court, Court of Appeal, and Supreme Court, overturned the verdict of this honorable House. So I want to appeal to the members of Kirinyaga County Assembly to learn from this process, where they did not do their things right, where they did not meet the threshold for impeachment. That should give them an aspiration to do a better impeachment next time. This battle should not carry our emotions. You approach this duty of service to the great people of Kenya with an open mind. That is the best spirit that we can give to the people of Kirinyaga. Two, Mr. Speaker, let us appreciate that there are things that we can do as a House, and there are things that other institutions can do better than us. I'm happy to note that the committee has recommended for further investigations against certain officers, and that should give hope to the people of Kirinyaga that if any resources have been plundered or misused, there is still hope for justice to be done to the people of Kirinyaga. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chararge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From the onset, just for a few seconds, I want to condole with my people in Nandi County in Lesotho that 3 of them were killed by police, and I want to appeal for calm. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I think in the history of this country, the public relations and sanitizing program, Christian Mwosho Moja has gotten a foothold today in this House. The report sounds like a love poetic poem to the governor and Waiguru, because I've read from the chair's position that there was mistakes, there was illegalities, but there is no nexus to the governor. This is one of the reports that no one should associate with in the near future. And I'm disappointed because we knew from the time, Mr. Speaker, that this report was going to the committee. The sanitization program of Governor Han Waiguru has been. Secondly, Madam Speaker, as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, is that when Governor Han Waiguru was making closing remarks, he talked about BBI and handshake being fought because she was supporting BBI and handshake. I want to say that is one of the worst defense that I've had in this country. And I want to advise the 4 governors that their impeachment motions are lying in their county assemblies. Just shout BBI and handshake and your problems will go away. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we must agree, and I want to correct what the committee said, that out of 12 allocations, 4 were approved. Even when you are taken to a court of law, if one ground is proved, you are charged on it. So why all these issues, they are saying the county assembly brought 12 charges, 4 was proved. That is not a justification that I've never had. Mr. Speaker, finally,
What's your point
the
of
fight
order,
against
Senator
corruption in this country.
There's a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, is Senator Chararge in order to mislead this House that I said on the floor of the House that the county assembly proved 4 allegations. I said they prosecuted. Senator Cherargei, differentiate the word prosecution and approved.
Okay, Senator Cherargei, conclude.
No mic. Mr. Speaker, you know Senator Malala is a thespian, so those are theatrics they use in comedy shows. The law is very clear. The fight against corruption, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude.
I hope you are not imputing improper motive.
I am not imputing improper motive. The MC has already expelled him. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of corruption, let me finalize, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of corruption, I want to tell the President and Kenyans at large, if the fight of corruption is as jared, as comical as it is, there will be no justice for the people of Kirinyaga. Justice should be seen to be done. Justice was not done to the people of Kirinyaga. Corruption fighting in this is a storytelling. This was a soap opera movie for the governor of Kirinyaga, Mr. Speaker, because if you read the whole report, it was just like a soap opera thing that was being done behind somewhere in Kirinyaga Road. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Olekina, as Professor Ongeri comes from the other.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you. I rise to really congratulate the young distinguished senator from Kakamega who did this House proud, and my good friend, the Vice Chair, Senator Bishira Alake. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a report that even this House, as we see the committees in this House, if we take time and read through this report, we can be able to now follow up to ensure that the people of Kirinyaga get justice. There's all different things that have been alluded to here, maybe those testaments that were made by the witnesses, including the issues of health. I would hope that the Committee on Health, and which I sit on, would be able to follow up and to be able to go and check them out. Article 226, subsection 5 of the Kenyan Constitution is very clear. It states clearly that if any holder of a public office misappropriate funds, they are accountable. I heard the chairperson state clearly that there are certain officers who have been recommended, to step aside so that they can be able to be followed. I want to reiterate what I said from the beginning, that the management of a county is a collective responsibility. This is enshrined in the Constitution under Article 179. I want to remind the CCs who are in Kirinyaga and also the CCs in all 47 counties that whatever happens in the county, you are responsible. In fact, if that governor was found to have committed an offense or to have been impeached, all those CCs under 179.7 would have gone home. So this is a collective responsibility. I find that this committee did a fantastic job. I'm going to spend some time, go read through this so that I can be able to contribute more in my committee. And finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is something which is one of my pet peeves. Some of these MCAs have no clue of the rule of law. How can somebody come and say Impress was not surrendered? It is not in their jurisdiction. Impress we know. So I would want to plead to any officer to spend some time and familiarize themselves with the rule of law, because Impress is supposed to be recovered. If you do not surrender within 7 days, it's supposed to be recovered.
What's your intervention?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to remind Senator from Narok that the MCAs are doing oversight, and we should not look down upon their level of oversight. In fact, this House is killing the functions of the MCAs down there, and they will no longer be willing even to do their work because of what we do here. So I want to tell the senator from Narok not to insult the MCAs that they don't know anything. They know a lot. That is very wrong.
Mr. Speaker, sir, sometimes I think some people sleep in this house when we are talking. Mr. Speaker, sir, my statement was very clear.
Order. Don't use order, Senator Ledama. Order. I have not given you. Sit down, Christopher. Senator Ledama Lekina. Order, Senator Ledama.
That is unparliamentary. So can you withdraw and apologize?
I remember clearly.
Or withdraw and apologize.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I'm guided by you, there's nowhere in my statement that I said Senator, the distinguished senator from Langat, from Bomet, Dr. Langat, was sleeping. So,
No,
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I respect your guidance, Mr. Speaker, sir, as I respect your guidance, you know, and withdraw that, I want to remind the people of this country that the only way that we can ensure that everyone gets justice is if even us citizens themselves familiarize themselves with the law. Because we keep pointing fingers. You point a finger and you come and say, oh, this was not done, this was not substantiated. In fact, some of our colleagues, and I want to repeat what the majority leader said here, it is absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous for our own colleagues to go out in social media and post and say sanitization, the house of sanitization. Let us have some respect. Otherwise, if you don't respect this house, you might as well fold and go back home. So finally, the law is clear. If somebody committed a crime and there are recommendations here, those investigating agencies should now get an opportunity to proceed. KRA.
Your time is up, Senator Professor Ongeri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to weigh in on this matter. First and foremost, I want to thank the committee for having done a very important responsibility, carried out a very important responsibility of arbitrating and listening to the views of the people of Kirinyaga and the governor. They were all given an opportunity to be able to be heard in public glare. And issues were canvassed on the floor of this House, and they have been captured in the report that I've seen and I've perused through at the moment. It's quite clear when you carefully sit down and read this report, and I intend to do so, there are issues of law that have been raised up. There are issues where a responsibility has been apportioned, who should take that responsibility and who shouldn't take that responsibility. And I think one area that came out quite clear is the area of procurement, and therefore the people of Kirinyaga, and I want to commend the County Assembly that responsibility of being oversighting the items that are locally procured will be a very important input to the proceedings of the county of Kirinyaga government, and they will be able to censor them at that level. Even if this were to go to EACC, they will not have the capacity to be able to see where specific projects are being located and at what stage they are. And therefore, the people who are in their best element to be able to deal with this matter will be the county assembly MCAs themselves at that level. Otherwise, I commend this report, and I think it's a way forward. And as a Senate, we must always build on a platform that helps us to have a better jurisprudence to the future, rather than criticizing a process which I think has been successfully concluded. And my final remark is that there is now an opportunity, and I think the report did not just end there. I think there was a call up for the people of Kirinyaga, the county assembly, the governor herself, and the people to come together, because the bottom line is their development and nothing else. And I think that was the most important recommendation, that there should be harmony. And after all, this is what we are striving for. Even in this Senate, we are striving for looking for harmony and people working together. It's not our purpose to divide people. And I think when we have an opportunity like this, we should commend this report, because they made a very important recommendation that the people, both at the assembly level, the governor, and the people themselves should come together and be able to get the act together. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point of information, Senator Wago? Does Professor want to be informed?
In the light of what the excellent presentation by the professor on the issue of harmony and unity, the Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations is charged with the responsibility of governance and management of county governments. So don't you think this committee should be more proactive in other areas in the future where they see the relationship between the county executive and the county assembly deteriorating? They should intervene and try to see if they can bring them together. That's my information.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I graciously accept that recommendation because the whole purpose of this Senate is to be able to bring harmony and not disharmony.
Senator Kamar Margaret.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I join my colleagues in saying the time given to interrogations like this needs to be considered. We saw the committee work tirelessly, very late hours, and we thank them for putting that effort. Now that the story has ended right there are a few concerns that some of us observed. Mr. Speaker, one of my own concerns is what happened after the announcement of the impeachment. And I think as a Senate, we need to ask ourselves, we have our own procedure. The procedure of impeachment starts from the county assembly, and then it lands in this House. When it comes to this House, we have our own procedure of how to do things. What was extremely sad for me was to see the affected people of Kirinyaga speaking to Senate on the streets, in Barasas. We know they were pained and they were feeling bad, but for them to tell us to do things a certain way was very, very sad. And not just the population of Kirinyaga, the leadership of Kirinyaga. It's no wonder the committee has given a very strong recommendation of reconciliation. Because as I listened to the members of parliament and our colleague, the senator, expressing themselves, I told myself, at the end of this process, whichever way it takes, is there anybody who is going to leave Kirinyaga? Is there anybody who is going to be transferred from Kirinyaga? Or all of them are going to live in the same place? Because as a county, and this House is supposed to take care of not just the county assets, but also the county government, we really need to ask ourselves, how do we protect ourselves? How do we protect the government beyond impeachment? Because impeachment will not lead to us expelling somebody from the county. They will still live among us the rest. So I really like that recommendation that has been given by the committee. And I think I like even the addition that has come from Senator Wako, that this House must involve itself in the interest of our counties in bringing peace among us, our people, the members of the county government. Particularly, do some capacity building also for our MCAs, so that the MCAs are bold, but not terrified by their relationship with the governors, because it looks like there is some.
Your time is up, Senator Murkomen.
First of all, I'd like to appreciate the County Assembly of Kirinyaga for the fantastic job they did. The preparation for the impeachment process, Mr. Speaker, was above board. In fact, it was exemplary. In many of the discussions I've seen in print and electronic media, many people have praised the County Assembly of Kirinyaga as being acquainted and well-versed with their responsibilities of oversight. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the chair of this committee, Senator Malala, a former MCA, should have spent a few more minutes appreciating his former colleagues and appreciating the role. And Mr. Speaker, I find it very sad because I've stood by the roles of the County Assembly since 2013 I came here. I find it very sad that some members of this House could disparage the role that MCAs are performing or to even try to demean the responsibilities of the county assemblies who are operating in very difficult circumstances, some of them being intimidated by the county assemblies, some of them, being denied resources for the county assembly. And I want to tell County Assembly of Kirinyaga and county assemblies across the country, you have a friend in Senator Murkomen and a number of senators in this house who believe that we must strengthen the responsibility of oversight. In fact, it would be an insult to the county assemblies to use this floor to demean county assemblies, because the Speaker of this House is the patron of all the county assemblies across the country. And annually we hold a conference to exchange ideas on what should be done on our responsibilities as oversighting agencies. Many people here have said that the reputation of this House is in danger because of comments that members make in social media and out there. The Speaker, I beg to disagree. The reputation in this House, of this House, and the dignity of this House is going to be determined by the consistency of the decisions we make and the manner in which we conduct ourselves on the floor of this House. Mr. Speaker, I was in the first committee of impeaching Governor Wambora, and I was the vice chair. Senator Orengo was there. Senator of Kakamega again was, my friend Boni Khalwale was the chair. And we impeached Governor Wambora, Mr. Speaker, for seeds that did not germinate in Embu, despite the fact that he was not a procurement officer or he didn't plant the seeds. Mr. Speaker, we impeached Governor Waititu for also other reasons that, Mr. Speaker, could not really have been substantiated if we really forced ourselves to go through the real processes. So impeachment standards, Mr. Speaker, shall not be, we must demonstrate as a House the consistency, because in this House we've said Governor Waiguru is unable to govern.
Is it? Unfortunately, it's done, Senator Murkomen. Okay, 1 minute is a former leader.
Mr. Speaker, we indicted the governor on tendering processes, failure to give State of the Union address, inability to lead in a harmonious manner, then finally said, Mr. Speaker, that it's not substantiated. So, Mr. Speaker, we must have that consistency, and failure to have that consistency makes people out there to believe that we are not Senate, we are sanitizers. And as a House, we must show that consistency. Finally, I propose that we amend Section 33 of the County Government Act, that, Mr. Speaker, all reports that come from, all impeachments must go through committees, and all the reports of the committee, whether they find to substantiate or not, Mr. Speaker, must be brought to this House for approval. Because some of the recommendations given by the committee and are not been adopted by this House because we are not adopting the report, how will they be implemented? And I suggest that going forward, the devolution committee would come up with a motion that then adopts the recommendation of that report, so that this House can formally adopt the recommendations that are related to impropriety in Kirinyaga. And Mr. Speaker, I want to tell the people of Kirinyaga, take heart. You know what happened, and I told you before, it was not a surprise. Relax. If you...
Okay, your time is up. Senator James Orengo, leader, I'll give you 5 minutes.
Can I talk from here? Mr. Speaker, let me first congratulate the entire committee for a job well done. Senator Malala, I think other than the fact that you may not have a legal degree, but your presentation of this report and you are going through the charges one by one and analyzing the evidence, I thank you, and you have done justice to this matter with the entire committee. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this without fear of contradiction. Let us not change because of changed circumstances. I want some people on the other side to look at the record of what they have said in this House, in other impeachment proceedings. The narrative is beginning to change, but justice can never change. So the question that we should ask ourselves in this particular matter, have we done justice? And justice is not done by listening to crowds. Justice is done by going through processes. Mr. Speaker, impeachments were very popular in England. In fact, the last impeachment was of a Governor General of India in the 18th century. In the 18th century. And because they found impeachments wanting, they stopped impeachments and they were rendered obsolete. In the United States of America, since they signed the Constitution in the year 1787, there have only been 3 impeachments and no removal, because the founding fathers said that this is a tool you use only in exceptional circumstances. And in the United States, it's a political process. But in Kenya, we have adopted a system in which our decisions are reviewable. The High Court, the appeal, and the court system can review our conduct, whether really we did justice in accordance with the Constitution. So the thresholds have been set in the law, and they have been set by the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, and the High Court. And in that regard, I think Justice, I'm calling him Justice Malala, but I think you sat in the seat of justice. And I've found so many accolades the way Senator Malala presided over the committee and the process. So I want to say that this was properly done. But I want to say also, we cannot accuse the county assembly. They have done their work. It's just like the Supreme Court when the matters regarding Governor Wambora went to the Supreme Court. And I'm glad one of us was in that case. Senior Counsel Omugeni was there. He defended, the governor in that case. And he has done a lot of many cases, Governor Munya in the election petition and so on. So I want to say, when institutions work, we should never be disappointed. In fact, when the impeachment proceedings went to the High Court and the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, and our decision was overturned, what I said at the end, it shows that our institutions and the legal processes are working. And I want to assure the people of Kirinyaga that what you have done through the county assembly is within the law. What the Senate has done is within the law. And there's nobody who is going to stop the county assembly of Kirinyaga to continue to do its work, oversight, carry out its oversight role, because without that, this kind of impeachment would never end in this Senate anyway. But what I will encourage for those who are looking for other people's heads, next time learn how to dance better for King Herod. You may get somebody's head that time. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to join my colleagues in congratulating the committee having carried out this impeachment process. Number 2, let me also congratulate the county assembly members of Kirinyaga, because they have done their work very well. Mr. Speaker, I have sat in 2 committees in the last Senate. The first one was Kericho impeachment. And Mr. Speaker, the Kericho impeachment, we really made a very good recommendation where we said that there should be a reconciliation between the county government and also the senator then. And I think the recommendation we made then, Mr. Speaker, was under the leadership of the senator, a reconciliation should be arrived at. And that really happened, and it worked so well. And since then, we never had any problem. Number 2, for the county assembly members of Murang'a, we had an impeachment of Wairia. And that impeachment didn't go very well because the senator then was really devastated, simply because we didn't come up with this kind of recommendation by this particular committee. Because what I'm seeing in this recommendation, if at all the relevant institutions are going to pick these recommendations and carry them to the end, the people who are involved should be investigated That means, in my case, there is win-win in both cases. And I think, Mr. Speaker, we should not discourage county assembly members. They have done their work. They have come this far. They should be able to proceed doing what they are doing. And I think, Mr. Speaker, as a House, we should be able to look back and see where there are gaps and make proper recommendation. And I hope, under the leadership of the Senator from Moranga, we should be able to recommend, for Kirinyaga, we should be able to come up with recommendation where ADR should be held in Kirinyaga so that they can be able to work together and come up with a solution to the current issues affecting them in Kirinyaga. I thank you.
Senator Susan Kihika.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to just make a few comments and begin first by appreciating and congratulating the County Assembly of Kirinyaga as well as the people of Kirinyaga. By going through the process in the way that they did, they absolutely did what they are supposed to do, which is a good job in oversight. So, Mr. Speaker, when I sit here and I hear some very condescending remarks directed at members of the county assemblies or MCAs, it's quite disheartening, because I could tell you, having been a speaker myself of a county assembly and sitting where you're sitting over members of the county assembly, and now having been a senator and having been in this house for 2.5 years, I might stand here today and say that the MCAs know better. They know their jobs better at times than the senators in this house. I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, that the MCAs do not hold brief for anybody, but continue to carry out their jobs without fear or favor. Something that you could never find in the Senate. Mr. Speaker, back on June 16th, the afternoon of June 16th, as we debated whether to go to plenary or to have a special committee for this agenda, you could have thought that the members here who are speaking as angels were different members when the motion of Governor Waitito was brought. And having heard them speak here today, it's a complete contradiction to what we've seen. So my only hope is that as we go forward, if there are more impeachments, let the House be consistent. Otherwise, the supposed leader of majority on the majority side, coming here to lecture us about what we put on social media and being populist or having honor, unity, and dignity for the House, it's lip service. People are watching what we are doing as a Senate and not what we are saying. And as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, what I said back on June 16th has come to pass. We got a committee that was very good at sanitization services, and they have been able to carry that this afternoon. That has been done. It was predetermined, the die was cast, and I was expecting more different results. As I conclude, the US President Truman, Harry Truman.
There is a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, Senator Kiga might have her problems with Jubilee, but the Senator of West Pokot is the leader of majority. He's not the supposed leader of majority. I don't think it's correct to use such sentiments against colleagues. And Mr. Speaker, since you are here, and we count on you on having order, some people in this Senate are behaving as if they have monopoly on bad manners. We can insult one another if we want. But, Mr. Speaker, we restrain ourselves because the standing orders require us not to behave as if we are on the streets. That's why they're calling standing orders. When somebody stands, they use the standing orders. I think Senator Kiika should withdraw that statement about the majority leader, Mr. Speaker, and please, Mr. Speaker, these good people who sit here were your erstwhile friends. Please don't be too lenient on them. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, we are also going to misbehave in this House so that, Mr. Speaker, then we force you to enforce the law in this House. Thank you.
Okay, honorable senators, order. I treat you as honorable members. I want to expect that we conduct ourselves because the whole world is watching. Let us respect each other. Don't push me to, take action that I would not want to take. But remember, what you say against your own brother or sister or against another senator will also be said against you. Susan, complete, please.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I also would want the Speaker to rule or to let the House know whether the new Jubilee member, Senator Mutula Kilonzo, is a whip of the minority party or an additional whip.
You are out of order. Your time is up, Senator Susan. You are out of order. Your time is up. Senator Musurube.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to also comment. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that I would like to congratulate the MCAs of Kirinyaga for coming up with this impeachment. And indeed, they brought to the right house, because the Senate is a house of reason. And I want to really congratulate the team that was set up to handle this matter, because they were very objective in handling the matter. If the team went by media portrayal of the governor, it was very emotive, and if they went by the dictates of the MCAs and the people of Kirinyaga, then they would not have done a commendable job. But they stood impartial. They went with the authentic data that they found. They decided to go, evidence-based, and they ensured that they were very impartial in the undertaking. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that yes, indeed, MCAs can bring impeachments into this House, but they need to learn from this impeachment process that they must have verifiable reasons that stand the test of time, that even meet the threshold for an impeachment. And going forward, Honorable Speaker, there's need to have a tripartite relationship in terms of how the MCAs behave, and their governors, and also the people on the ground. So there's need also for senators to come on board, like Senator Kirinyaga needs to come on board to ensure that there is a cordial relationship in this tripartite relationship for the purpose of development in Kirinyaga. So I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that I thank the 11 team members that did a commendable job, and it is a job that would not have been done in the plenary, because the books were voluminous, the evidence were voluminous, but they did a commendable job. And going forward, we should ensure that we follow the example of the team that committed itself to ensuring justice and impartiality is done in the House of the Senate. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Boy Juma.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa fursa hii ili pia niweze kutoa hoja yangu mimi. Kwanza natoa shukrani kubwa sana kwa hii kamati ambayo ilikuwa ikishughulikia hii impeachment, hasa kwa mwenyekiti Senator Malala, mwenyekiti mdogo Senator Halaki, na wanakamati waliokuwa wakichunguza haya maneno. Mheshimiwa Spika, nadhani na pia mweseneta wenzangu tumekubaliana kwamba hao walichaguliwa katika hiyo kamati ni watu ambao walikuwa na busara sana. Wengineo ndani hapo walikuwa ni Maritaya Justice Mazayo, na pia ningependa pia kuunga maneno ya Deputy Speaker Senator Kamari kusema kwamba watu wa Kirinyaga, MCA na governor waweze na senator wa Kirinyaga waweze kukaa pamoja, waweze kutatua hili swali. Kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiangalia sana, sio Kirinyaga peke yake kwenye shida. Kaunti karibu zote katika Kenya hii, katika kaunti zetu utakuta kuna matatizo kama haya. Na hatuombi kwamba kutakuwa na mingine atakuja, lakini shida ni hii. Most of the time utakuta shida ni MCA, utakuta shida pengine ni governor, hakuna maelewano. Kwa hivyo kwa hii kamati iliyofanya hiyo kazi nimeshukuru sana, kwa sababu uamuzi waliochukua Mheshimiwa Spika ni uamuzi wa busara sana, kwa sababu wametafuta njia na wakaona katika kila mashtaka yaliyosomwa, hasa mwenyekiti na kamati yake wamejaribu kuitatua moja, one by one. Ufisadi haukuonekanika. Kama ni mambo ya imprest, pia imeonekanika kwamba kisheria kwamba imprest hata kama kusafiri au umesafiri baada ya muda lazima urudishe. Kila kitu iko sawa sawa. Kwa hivyo naunga mkono sana hii kamati ambayo ilifanya hii kazi, na Mwenyezi Mungu aijalie kwamba siku nyingine kutokea matatizo kama haya, kamati nyingine kama hizi ziweze kukaa chini na kuja jawabu kama hili. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na pia naunga mkono kabisa hii kamati. Asante sana.
Senator Shionga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute on the report. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to applaud the committee that did this job despite the short time they were given. And I want also to applaud or to congratulate the people of Kirinyaga, especially the members of the County Assembly, for coming up without fear or contradiction to bring out their problems to the Senate so that they can be sorted as a second alternative. Mr. Speaker, from the report, you can see clearly that we still have a problem with the tendering process, and especially in our county government. It is important that our county MCS, our county members of county, they feel free and bring up or be educated on how best they can analyze their problem and bring forth, if at all, any problem they have. We are here to assist our brothers because it is important for us to stand with them. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, it is evident that if we don't have evidence or substantive evidence in an accusation, then prosecution is not awarded. Mr. Speaker, it is important that people analyze, especially our MCS. Let them analyze very well what they bring, and we are here to assist them in the oversight role because we really want our the development to occur in our counties, especially the county like county of Kirinyaga. Many of the counties, Mr. Speaker, they are suffering in silence. Some are being bribed to keep quiet. But if they gain courage and bring their reports ahead, it is good that this House will be mandated and it will do what it's supposed to be done. I pray that communication be there between the county government executive and the county government executive and the county MCS so that they can work together to resolve most of the issues other than accusation and politicking. They will not achieve the development that they are that they are responsible for. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to say I congratulate the MCS, I congratulate the governor, and I congratulate everyone. Communication, let them embrace communication. Thank you.
Senator Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia ripoti. Kwanza Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kupongeza County Assembly ya Kirinyaga kwa ujasiri wao walivyoweza kuleta mashtaka pamoja na walivyoyaendesha katika kamati maalum ya Senate, na ilionyesha kwamba kweli wana nia ya kurekebisha mambo katika kaunti ya Kirinyaga. Ilikuwa nia sio ya kumuondoa gavana tu, lakini ilikuwa ni nia pia kwamba kuwe na marekebisho fulani katika kaunti ya Kirinyaga. Vile vile Mheshimiwa Spika, ningeweza kuipongeza pia kamati ambayo iliongozwa na Deputy Minority Leader Mheshimiwa Malala na Senator Abshiro, Senator maalumu vile vile walikuwamo Justice Retired Mazayo, Mheshimiwa Senator Beth Mugo, Senator Mwangi Githiomi na wengine wote ambao waliendesha kazi ile kwa tajiriba kubwa kabisa, na walijitolea na wakafanya kazi kubwa pia kuhakikisha kwamba kamati imeweza kukamilisha ripoti yake kwa muda uliowekwa. Vile vile Mheshimiwa Speaker, ningependa kumpongeza Gavana Waiguru kwa kuja kujitetea katika kamati ile, na pia tuliona umuhimu wa familia katika masuala kama haya, kwa sababu ilifika wakati wakili Kamoth Waiganjo
help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol.
SIPAIC, Public Accounts Committee, pia iangalie ripoti hii, iangalie ni mambo gani ambayo wanaweza kutukuiwa ili kuhakikisha kwamba hizi county assemblies zimeweza kutiliwa nguvu ili wakifanya kazi yao ya uhasibu na uchunguzi wa serikali za county tuhakikishe kwamba wanafanya mambo ambayo yatakuwa ni sawa sawa. Mheshimiwa Spika, sasa kuna msimu wa kuwafurusha magavana. Kwa hivyo ni wajibu wetu kama Senate kuhakikisha kwamba hatuathiriwi na yale mambo yanayozungumzwa nje ya bunge, ila tuangalie ushahidi ambao utaletwa mbele yetu au mbele ya kamati kuhakikisha kwamba tunatenda haki katika masuala kama haya. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Finally, Senator Kangata.
Mr. Speaker, as a former member of the County Assembly of Murang'a, let me celebrate the MCAs from Kirinyaga for initiating this impeachment. I say that notwithstanding that their case was not successful. And the reason I'm celebrating them is because it takes courage for you to initiate this procedure. And even if it's not successful, that does not mean the governor will not maybe take some remedial measures to ensure you are in tandem with the members of the county assembly. I also celebrate MCAs from my region of Mount Kenya and Central Region. In Murang'a, MCAs did impeach the governor. In Embu, now in Kirinyaga, in Kiambu, in Nyeri. When you compare our region where I come from vis-a-vis other regions, it shows my MCAs, they have high level of political consciousness. Of course, you should not just impeach for the sake of impeaching. You need to ensure there are grounds. But to the extent that you have the courage to take up this process, even if that process is not successful, that to me is something positive, and we need to celebrate our MCAs. Mr. Speaker, I also urge our MCAs, before they initiate the procedure, they should look at various issues. Number one, it is usually important, of course not a must, that when you are bringing grounds, maybe those grounds have been verified by other entities. I give an example like the Kiambu impeachment process. There were grounds that have been verified by the DCI, and then they have been verified by the DPP, a constitutional body. And then as a result of that verification, the governor had been taken to court. That to me was a fair and a more cogent process. Same way, Mr. Speaker, sir, you would see in the Embu impeachment, which was also upheld by the First Senate, there were allegations which had been taken to the DCI, and indeed, though those matters had been verified by other entities. I would urge any other entity that wants to institute this process, they consider, maybe for instance, first taking the matter before the Public Accounts Committee of the various county assembly, also be consulting the EACC and maybe even the DCI. Mr. Speaker, also, here in the Senate, I would propose, as a way of enriching the impeachment procedure, we do the following things. Number one, we make ex officio DCI and also ex officio member of EACC. We have done that as a part of Public Accounts Committee, and so that in my committee, which I also sit, when a governor comes, we as members of the Public Accounts Committee, we can immediately make a recommendation, and a governor can be arrested and taken to court pursuant to those allegations. Maybe it is time we also borrow from that practice when we are conducting impeachment, and therefore we cause governors, notwithstanding the case has been dismissed, the matter to be escalated to that level. I will finish with these words, Mr. Speaker, sir. I was personally attacked by some of the leaders from Kirinyaga County. In fact, there was that narrative that was being made by some leaders attacking the great people of Murang'a. Let everyone know, those of us who come from Murang'a County, we are very proud of that heritage. I wouldn't want this impeachment to be framed as if it is a fight between the people of Kirinyaga and the people of Murang'a. We are all one. We are neighbors. And therefore, we should not be seen as if we are fighting. And finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, and this is very important, those leaders who attack this office of the chief whip through public barazas, let them know that whatever this office does is usually pursuant to political parties' positions, which have been processed, and therefore it was quite unfair for them to go in public barazas and start attacking this office of the chief whip. With that, thank you.
Okay, I had said that was the last one, but I can see Senator Wambua dying to say something. Keep it short, 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for indulging me and for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to the report of the Special Committee on the Impeachment of Governor Anne Waiguru. Mr. Speaker, I will be very brief. I will say only 3 things. One, I want to thank and most sincerely congratulate the members of the County Assembly of Kirinyaga for having the courage to prosecute this matter to where they have brought it. The Speaker, we as a House should help county assemblies to build capacity. And what they have done is part of their constitutional mandate. They should not feel sorry about it. They should not be made to feel bad about what they have done. It is their mandate. They have done a good job. We need to congratulate them and encourage other county assemblies to, as previous speakers have said, even when they are processing impeachment proceedings against governors, then to be guided by evidence of the grounds that they are quoting. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I want to say to ourselves as the Senate of the Republic of Kenya, we have done our job. The decision that the committee has made is not a decision of the committee. It is a decision of the Senate. So all of us are now bound by that decision. It is only fair that, Mr. Speaker, we also allow the public to pass judgment on what we have done. On our part, we feel that maybe we have served justice. The public must have a say on this matter. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, is to the staff of county assemblies, and this is very important. When you listen to that report, accountability is now shifting from the governors to the accounting officers. And Mr. Speaker, I remember very well on the 5th of October 2018, when you opened the county assembly chambers of Kitui County. And you told the staff of Kitui County government that at the end of the day, you are the accounting officer. Whatever you do, you will be responsible. You will be held responsible. Now I have had a recommendation that the accounting officers must be investigated. This must step aside. And so I want...
Okay, your time is up. Finally, Senator Kabaka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Let me pick from where my brother's mind was, Wambua, and conclude his idea, and then I zero into my 1 point. The burden of proof as established in the Evidence Act, Cap 80, ordinarily shifts from, ordinarily is such that you alleges must prove it. So those who brought, the charges against the governor of Kirinyaga had the burden to prove it. But as things turn out to be, out of the resolute determination by the special committee of this Honorable House, according to what my brother Senator Wambua of Kitui is saying, and I need also to support him, is that the burden now has shifted from the county assembly members from the governor to the accusers. At times it happens in law where the burden can also can shift. But be that as it may, my point here is that work has been done, but what I need to implore for future impeachment, because we are aware that about another 4 impeachments are about to come, for those who allege, they must come here with a very concrete evidence. Because this is a court of law, it's a quasi-judicial body. And if you don't bring a watertight evidence, I'm sorry, politics should not take center play. Because the decision we give here are subject for judicial review by the High Court. They can be quashed by the order of certiorari. You know, there can also be direction like mandamus or prohibition for certain things to be done. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I speak with that lingo touch, I would say that we are ready to defend the devolution in this country. We are ready to do it without fear of ever. But for heaven's sake, let us not play a ping-pong game of politics just to, to have the heads of the governors. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, it's now time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate stands adjourned up to Tuesday, 7th July 2020 at 2:30 p.m.